नमामि शंकराचार्य गुरुपाद सरोरुहं यस्य प्रसादान् मूढोऽपि सर्वज्ञोऽहं सदा भवम् कामाक्षी करुणारूपं कामकोटि जगद्गुरुं चिन्मूर्तिं कलये चित्ते शंकराचार्यमप्ययम् भक्ताग्रगिरिसम्भूता शंकरार्णवगामिनी पुनातु भुवनं पुण्या श्रीगुरोः सरितापगा वेद वेदांत साम्राज्य धर्म कामार्थ मोक्षदं विद्यारण्यं नमः पुण्यं जो विद्यारण्यमच्युनत् सदाशिव श्री ब्रह्मेन्द्र धृतस्वपद पादुकान् धीरान् परशुवेन्द्र आर्यान् ध्यायान् सततं हृदि अपार करुणा सिन्धुं ज्ञानतं शान्तरूपिणं श्री चंद्रशेखर गुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम् देवे देहे च देशे च भक्तारोग्य सुखप्रदं बुधपामर सेव्यन्तं श्री जयेन्द्रं नमाम्यहम् नमामि शंकरान्माख्यं जयेन्द्र सरस्वती श्री गुरुं श्रेष्ठमार्गानुनेतारं सन्मतिप्रदम् सदाशिव समारम्भां शंकराचार्य विद्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. In this auspicious year in which the 2500th rādhanā of Shri Shankara Bhagavatpāda was completed, the Shankara Samvatsara, and starting from the earlier Ashāda Shukla Ekadashi Budhanuradha Punyakala, on which our Shri Kanchi Kamakoti Mulamna Esarogya Peethadipati Jagadguru Shri Shankara Vijayam Saraswati Shankaracharya Swamigal completed his Tirtha Yatra by himself with his own hands, performing Abhisheka to Ramanatha Swami at Rameshwaram, with the prarthana of doing Anusandhanam of all the original Shankara Vijaya texts. We have started this prayatnam, and currently we are in the process of examining the Anandagiriya Shankara Vijayam, which was composed by one Anandagiri, a direct disciple of Shri Bhagavatpāda. And in this 21st part, we are about to examine the 26th prakarana of this grantha. This entire text mainly recounts how Bhagavatpāda discussed with the followers of various matas and corrected their Avaidika practices. And earlier, after the Shaiva Vaishnava matas and so on, we had a very interesting set of vicharas presented in the just earlier sections, in which we saw two different kinds of kapalikas and one charvaka. And kapalikas are kind of ugra upasakas who consider Bhairava as their pradhana devata. Of the two kapalikas, one was actually a real upasaka and the other only claimed to be so. And we saw how the actual upasaka was able to call Bhagavan Bhairava to come forth. But Bhairava Bhagavan told Bhagavatpāda to guide these people and correct their mistakes. And immediately they, because of their Upasya Devata himself saying so, they accepted Bhagavatpāda and his guidance. But the other Kapalika, he was not really a Kapalika, he only claimed to be a Kapalika. He claimed to consider Bhairava as the greatest. And even though the earlier Upasaka, they were also not in favor of the Dharma Shastra, Acharas and so on. But they had some kind of upasana, they were strictly, seriously following it. Based on that, it was possible to do uddharana of them. But the other Kapalika, who did absolutely no upasana, who only claimed to consider Bhairava as greatest, and was simply advocating Swaira Vihara, that is, behave as you please, do whatever you want. Just by considering Bhairava as the greatest, is it any use? So Bhagavatpāda said Bhagavatpāda felt there is no point in trying to correct this fellow. So Bhagavatpāda told that so-called Bhairava Kapalika, you please be as you wish. And he did not even attempt to correct that. That was an interesting thing that we saw. So, and after that, we saw a discussion with a Charvaka. See, in later texts, we normally consider, and what is about to be examined today is the Saugata Mata, and after which we have a mention of one Kshapanaka and one Jaina, and after which a Bauddha is to come. Actually, Saugata Mata, in later days, it is considered to be equivalent to Bauddha Mata. Even the Amarakosha says Sarvagya Sugato Buddha. So Sugata is considered to be a name of Buddha. But one feels that since Anandagiriya Acharya was himself directly in Bhagavatpāda's times, he was able to differentiate, as we even saw in the earlier Shaiva Vaishnava Matas also, between different kinds of people who were having their own fixed set of beliefs. But later on, because Bhagavatpada almost made all these matas disappear, then we were not able to perceive the distinction between the various subdivisions. But Anandagiriya Acharya was present there and he was able to see lots of things that are not so clear in later texts. So Anandagiriya Acharya here, why I say this is, uh, the Saugata Mata that Anandagiri Acharya presents is quite similar to Charvaka Mata. See, in Charvaka Mata, as described in later texts, it is considered to be, there are two aspects to it. One is supposedly pure intellectual analysis of everything. And even in the earlier Prakarana, we saw that Charvaka said that Bhasmi Bhutasya Dehasya Punaragamanam Kutaha. So once the body becomes is burned, is turned into ashes, it is not going to come back. But the Charvaka, who was described in the earlier Prakarana, he did not, he only spoke about intellectual vichara. He said that there is no pramana for paraloka, there is no pramana for doing shraddhas and so on. And he was advocating a pure intellectual approach, but he had a real dedication to that intellectual approach, whereby at the end of the discussion with Bhagavatpada, he requested Bhagavatpada, maybe he was not able to immediately accept the Advaita Siddhanta. Bhagavatpada also did not directly do Upadesha of Advaita to him. But Bhagavatpada, by the Upadesha of Bhagavatpada, he accepted that Bhagavatpada has something that is beyond his intellect. So he requested Bhagavatpada that he could have the opportunity of taking care of the books of Bhagavatpada, so that he might have wanted to learn more. So that was the Charvaka's aspect. So that Charvaka did not specially advocate indulging in sensual pleasures, and but his concentration, his main point was about intellectual discussion. Now, this Saugata Mata, which we are about to see, normally it is considered to be a Saugata Mata, as I mentioned earlier, it is a Bauddha Mata, but here it is not described that way. Here he is also similar to a Charvaka only, except that he emphasizes the aspect of living happily as long as we are there in this body. And let me take up the actual text. Tatah Prinakalayabaraha Saugataha Shankara Gurum Namaskritya Idam Uvacha Swaminne Jagadidam Vyaktastam Asid Sarvepi Durbodha Vashat Karmasila Iva Bhanti Kim Karmana Bhautika Dehasyasti Srishti Sthidilayam Mina Radrik Sharirasya Bhautika Rupasya Stanena Kim Suddhadasti Jivastu Nirbalaha Dehapatanantaram Muktaha तयोरंतरम वेत्ति चेत कथम वा स्नानवशात् शुद्धिरस्ति अतः निरर्थकत्वात् स्नानादिकर्मण कार्यम. So this Saugata, actually he, some aspects he speaks as if from Vedanta. He seems to accept that there is an Atma beyond this Deha. Whereas in Charvaka Mata, as described in later texts also, they do not accept a Shariratirikta Atma. They say that Sharira itself is the Atma. They even do not accept among the Panchamahabhutas, they don't accept Akasha because it is not visible or it is not perceivable. But they accept only four Bhutas. And the body is composed by four Bhutas, only that is the Atma. That is what Charvakas are said to consider as per later texts. But here this Saugata, he seems to accept the Dehadirikta Atma. But he says, people do not seem to understand what is real, so they are doing all these karmanushtanas. What is the use of all these karmanushtanas to this physical body? Whatever is necessary for this physical body to be born, to live, and after it perishes, only that has any meaning. So the actual Atma is beyond the physical body. By doing snana and so on, what is the use? How is the Atma supposed to get any purity? Of course, definitely there is physical purity that is coming from doing physical snana. But the Shastra gives lots of additional recommendations for snana. It recommends to take snana at rivers, from wells and so on, and to do snana in this particular way and so on. That is all, there is no meaning to it, is what he is saying. And he says that Jivastu Nirmalaha Dehapatanantaram Muktaha. So after the body falls, the jiva will immediately attain moksha. So it is only important to understand the distinction between the physical body and the jiva, and therefore there is no real purity accruing to the jiva because of this snana and other anushthanas. So there is no necessity to do all these things. And he further says, Ranavashat Jivaha Punarjato Bhavaditi Kerchit Murkhajanaha Jalpanti. That some fools, he says, say that the Jiva has Rana in this body, he acquires Rana, and therefore he is born again. Rana means a debt. So, because of that debt, he is born again. Is some fools say this is not correct. As per that Saugata, Deha Adrishta Prapta Dhanasya Katham Pranata Bhaktamuchita. So, this is, we can see that there are lots of conflicts in what this fellow is saying. In Bhagavatpāda's Brahmasutra Bhashya also, Bhagavatpāda says, Yatha yatha hi idam saugata darshanam upapattimatvaya parikshate tatha tatha sigata gopavad vidiryate eva. So once we approach this saugata mata and examine it for being logically meaningful, Acharya says that it is as if a well dug out of sand. So as you keep digging, it will keep falling. So it cannot stand firm. So likewise, see what he is saying, he is called those who say that the jiva has ranas and therefore he is born, he called them as fools. But now he says, Deha adrishta prapta dhanasya katham ranata bhaktamuchita. He said, because of my punya, I acquired money. So how that money is acquired in this janma, he is not caring about. He says that adrishta, there is some adrishta, some punya which I have with me, and because of that I get money. Whether I get that money now by proper means or not, is not. He doesn't seem to attach importance to that. So he says that it is owed to me, so I get it. So how can he say that I have a debt? Dravyalabdha ghritadi bhaktanena deha pushte vidyamanatvat pushta sharirasya jivatushti karanatvat ataha ranam krutva ghatam pivet iti vajanasya pramanyat tattva pushta sharirena bhavitovyam dehante rana bhavat tasmat tatra tatra ranam krutva samagra bhakshana shilasya sukha praptireva moksha sadhanam. So a very interesting mata he puts forward. He says, by giving money or some other way, we get ghrita, ghee or any other items, food items which are useful to have our body healthy or with pushti. And this body with pushti, that will give jivas pushti. So with a healthy body, we can experience all sorts of pleasures, and that gives santosha to the jiva, and that is what has any meaning. So he says, then he says, Dataha ranam krutva ghritam pivet. So the word, normally this phrase is associated with what is given in the earlier prakarana for Charvaka. Yavat jivet, sukham jivet, ranam krutva ghritam pivet, tasmi bhutasya dehasya punaragamanam kutaha. So as long as we live, we should live happily. You can even get lots of debts from others. So this kind of debt, this worldly debt, borrowing money from others, he seems to accept. Ranam krutva ghritam pivet. Using that money, you can buy all sorts of things which will give you pleasure, and you can live happily. As long as you live, you should live happily. That is the greatest thing. So he who has real viveka, who understands that the jiva is beyond this body, so whatever accrues to the body, it will not affect the jiva, except that the pleasures which are experienced through the body are received by the jiva. And once this body falls, there is no such thing as rana. There is no, if somebody borrows money, then once that person dies, how is that person liable for returning that debt? Even today's law, it only says if at all that person has left any money to his further the santati, then from that money, the money which is owed to the debtors, the people who gave the debt, it may be returned. That is what he says. But this does not affect that particular person, and neither definitely it does not affect that person in his next janma. Is all this Saugata is he cares about. So he says that after in this janma we can take any amount of rana, it is not going to accept our next janma. Tasmat tatra tatra ranam kritva samagra bhakshana shilasya. So, but the thing is, when he says that in this janma he got ghrita or other tasty items by the punya papa from his previous janma, by the punya from his previous janma. So if he wants to experience such pleasures, if he accepts Purarjanma and he wants to experience such pleasures in Purarjanma, the next Janma also, then is it not necessary that he has to perform Punya Karyas in this Janma? But he says that you can, the pleasures are got by my previous Janma's Punya, so here I can live anyhow I please. So there is no meaning to this, there is no real logical consistency to these arguments. Tasmat tatra tatra ranam kritva. So we can take lots of debts and we have to eat well and we have to nourish our body well. That is all it's important. And through that, whatever pleasures that we attain, that is the sadhana for moksha. Tadante, the moksha prapti karasthaiva. So the moksha, attaining moksha at the end of this body is is in our hands by this method, is what he says. Srimad Acharya Ridamuchate Kim Saugata Jalpasi Dehapatanantaram Jivasya Moksha Ituktam Tadasatyam Katham Paraloka Gamana Darshanat. So Acharya says, you say that immediately after this body falls, immediately there will be moksha. Again, this is another logical fallacy, because if after one body falls there is moksha, then the concept of Punarjanma is not applicable. So how is it that he was saying that by my previous punya, by adrishta, I received all this grita and other things in this janma? So it is not meaningful. Acharya further says, Paraloka Gamana Darshana. So here the word Darshanat, it can mean two things. It can mean that it is Darshanat in the Shruti, Smriti and other pramanas. And it can also mean that some great souls are actually able to perceive a jiva leaving this body and going. So as we see in the Satyavan Savitri Katha, Savitri was able to see the jiva of Satyavan leaving the body and going along with Yama. And of course, in the Shastras, it is very clear that the jiva is leaving this body and going elsewhere. And as for in the Shastras, the Vedas are considered to be Apaurushaya in our Siddhanta, but the Nayayikas say that Veda was composed by Ishvara. And the Shastras, definitely they are composed by Rishis, great souls, who have knowledge of things beyond our intellect. See, if somebody who has gone and seen the Himalayas, and he comes and say that there is such and such a mountain range, it's so beautiful and so on. If somebody who does not have the ability to go there and see, if he refutes the statement of those people who have actually seen, then is it in any way meaningful? So whatever a person who has experience is saying, it has to be accepted. And these rishis have such a capability that they are able to see such things. Acharya Bhagavatpāda himself says, Nahi chirantaranam samarthyam asmadiyena samarthyena upamatum yuktam. It is not correct to compare the samarthya of the erstwhile ancients with people like us. If Bhagavatpāda himself says, then we have to think what kind of high position or high capability he considers the earlier sages to have. So definitely the Shruti Smritis have to be taken as pramana, and the Smriti Bhagavad Gita says, Kshene Punye Martyalokam Vishanti. So it is very clear that Anena Paraloke Linga Sharira Baddha Jivasya Sukadukkhadyanubhavaha Siddho Bhut. So even though this physical body falls, the Linga Sharira, the Sukshma Sharira, it encompasses, it takes the jiva from one body to another body, and from there it experiences sukhas and dukkhas. Ataha paralokad agatya yasya varanam dhatavyam yasya dravyam apahartavyam tadgarbhe tasya janma bhavatyeva. So after coming from the paraloka, if you have taken rana from somebody that you have to give back, or you have given some rana that you have to get back, then you will definitely be born in such a janma. Tasmat agyabuddhyam papapankaliptam parityajya sanmargagami bhava ityukta punaraha. So Acharya advises this Saugata, you please leave this ajnana, because it will take you into the path of papa, because you are advocating that Anybody can live any way they want, except that they only have to attain all kinds of pleasures. Then it will take you into Papa. You take, Bhagavad advises him to take up a Sanmarga. Ityukta Punaraha. So now he tries to establish his credentials in a different way. He says, because so far he has understood that Bhagavatpada is giving importance to dharma. So if he gives importance to that, then he should have given importance to that at the first place itself. So this is just yet another attempt. So even today we have lots of people who say that they're intellectually thinking and there is no pramana for these things and so on. So in the earlier Charvaka Mata, we saw such things, and some people are claiming they speak as if they are Vedantis. They say, "Arey, what is the prayojana of all these karmanushtanas?" Because it is only important to understand that the Atma is beyond all this physical body, and all these karmanushtanas and everything. This is all attached. It is related to the physical body. It is all not so important. So some people do speak like that. So Bhagavad corrects. Through this person, Bhagavad corrects everybody. And now this person, he tries to present his case in a different way. He says, Swamin, Sugata Munihi Chatussamudrantam Bhavan Drishtva Vismayavishta Manasaha Satyamedati Jagat Vicharya Sarva Pran Upasakaha Bhavat. He says that he is the direct disciple of Sugata, whoever that Sugata was, whether it was Buddha or somebody else. He says that Sugata, he saw this entire world. And he was so surprised how Adbhuta this world is. And he decided that this world is true. And he decided that he wants to give importance to all pranis. Sato Padupadesha Kale Karunavashad Idamaha Sarva Pranyahimsa Paramo Dharmaha Adrigvidha Dharmenaiva Papa Nivrittehe Mukto Bhavasi. So Sugata Muni taught me due to Karuna, he said that Sarva Prani Ahimsa Paramo Dharmaha. So you should hold Ahimsa towards all Jivarashis, and through that Dharma only you will be relieved of all papas, and through that you will attain moksha. So now, where does this come from? This concept of Punya Papa is not what he said earlier. Tadarabhya ahamapi guruvakyam shirasa parigrihya Tatpada Dhyanasaktaha Sarva Pranishu Dayaparosmi. So, because my Guru advised me that way, I am holding the Karuna Daya towards all pranis. Sadanyo Dharmo Nastyeva Loke Kila Atah Param Matam Asmadiyam Dharmasthanam Bhavadadbhi Sarvairangiraniyam Iti Puras Saugatamate Prapte. So he claims that our Mata is the Ashraya of Dharma, and people like you should definitely accept it. And once he again tries to establish it, Paramaguru Bhagavatpāda says, Rere Saugata, Ahimsa Katham Paramo Dharmo Bhavitavarhati. One would be very surprised that is Bhagavatpāda saying this. But yes, Bhagavatpāda is speaking here not as a sannyasi or not about his own sannyasa dharma. Ahimsa might be the dharma of sannyasis who are able to follow such things, that the Sarva Prani Daya and so on. But it is definitely not the dharma of everybody. Bhagavatpāda here speaks as a Jagat Guru, because those who are grihasthas, they are householders. If there is a Vishajantu coming inside their house, they might maybe try to remove that Vishajantu without killing it. But sometimes it may not be possible. So it has to be done. Likewise, if you consider the Samudaya society, if there is a Vishajantu in society, in the sense that there is somebody who is always giving trouble to others or all kinds of pain to others, then definitely himsa has to be done to that person, to remove that person from, to prevent that person from giving suffering to others. So that himsa is definitely dharma, is what Bhagavatpāda is insisting here. So like even Bhagavan in the Gita, he says, Mamanuspara Yuddhacha, you go and perform Yuddha. So Arjuna was saying, Shreyo Bhoktum Bhikshamapi Haloke, it is great, it is better to take bhiksha and eat. But Bhagavan says, neither are you a sannyasi, and you are actually a kshatriya, you are actually a grihastha. Your dharma you have to follow, is what Bhagavan said in the Gita also. By this, it is not meaningful to say that Bhagavan incited Arjuna to go and kill people or something like that. Bhagavan instructed Arjuna to follow his dharma. And Bhagavatpāda as the Jagadguru, like Krishnam Mande Jagadguru, Bhagavatpāda as the Jagadguru is speaking here. He is saying that it is not possible for everybody to follow 100% ahimsa. So later on, in later periods, we can see that those matas who are supposedly following, prescribing ahimsa for everybody, what kinds of even what kinds of animals are fit to be eaten and not eaten, even in such things, they do not follow ahimsa. So it is really not practical in the ordinary world. So we have to understand that and understand to whom himsa is acceptable and not. See, in this matter, the Shastra takes Prakriya in two different ways. One is that such actions are not himsa at all. See, for example, a doctor, in somebody's body, there is a mass, there is some tumorous mass growing, and that doctor takes a knife and cuts open the body of the person and cuts that part, that problematic cancerous part out and removes it. So, does anybody call such a doctor as inflicting suffering upon the patient? Actually, the action of the doctor is to alleviate, to remove the suffering of the patient, that part which was removed. If it is not removed, then it will be giving trouble to the rest of the parts of the body. So that is why the doctor is removing it. So that procedure, we call them, the doctor is performing an operation. If a doctor in his whole life he has performed thousands of operations and he has helped somebody, and later on when that doctor himself at old age he passes away, will anybody say that, oh, this person has given suffering to all kinds of people all through his life? No, they will say that he has helped so many people. So this is not called himsa at all. Whatever that operation, surgical operation that the doctor performs. So this is one paksha, that these are, whatever is Shastra Vihita is not at all himsa. But if you take the mundane meaning of the word himsa in the sense of that which is causing pain, yes, does that surgical operation cause pain? Yes, it does cause pain. There will be pain during or before and after the operation also by cutting open. So, but and after the operation also. But if you want to call it himsa just because of that pain, then that is your wish, but it is definitely not adharma. Only that himsa is dharma actually. Tatha hi parama dharma, it is parama dharma, it is the greatest dharma. Sarva devata tripti moolatvat tadvara sargati phala darshanat. So whoever performs that dharma is considered to attain uttamagati. And in Yuddha they say Veera Swarga is attained by such soldiers. So such dharma, even though it is himsa, it is the cause of swarga and other uttamagatis. So it cannot be considered as adharma, and it is not correct to blindly say that ahimsa, only ahimsa is always dharma. So as the Jagadguru Bhagavatpāda speaks, and he says that wherever in society himsa has to be done to protect the interests of others, then himsa is dharma there. So whoever in what it is himsa is necessary to establish ahimsa there. That is what Bhagavatpāda says. It says Veda ninda parayeto vedachara vivarjitaha te sarve narakanyanti. If you conflict with the Shastra, see what is himsa and what is ahimsa, it has to be decided based on the Shastras. And if you conflict with the Shastras and if you do not follow the achara that is prescribed by the Shastras, then it will lead, even though you may be born in a great kula, it will take you to suffering and to naraka only. Himsa kartavya ityatra sahasram vedaha pramanam vartante. So lots of Shastra pramanas are there to say that in such cases himsa should be done. Itihasa Puranachara Pramanameva. Even the Itihasa and Puranas which are based on the Veda, they also show this and they are also Pramana. So Tadanya Patitaha Narakagamarga Gami Cha Iti Samupadishta Saugataha. So Acharya says that you cannot blindly follow ahimsa. So you cannot claim that I am following ahimsa to Sarva Bhutas, therefore I am dharmika. And so because of all the clarifications so patiently given by Bhagavatpāda, Saugataha Paramagurum Natva Siras Nirasta Samasta Abhimanaha. Earlier he was thinking that he is presenting so great arguments, but he realized that his arguments are not really logical. And then he requested Bhagavatpāda to grant him also an opportunity to serve Padmapadadi Guru Shishyanam Dharana Raksha Dharana Adhikara Kushalaha. So he requested that he could take up the case of taking care, security, safety of Bhagavatpada, his Shishyas and others also. Satatam taduchishtanna pushta bhakshana pushta tanura bhavate. So Anandagiri Acharya gives a shows a hint of humor here. He says that he seems to imply that since this fellow earlier he was totally in the practice of feeding himself and keeping his body with pushti, it is not possible to immediately discard such practices. But then now he decided that we will take the prasada after all these sannyasis do bhiksha. Whatever is remaining, that we will take as prasada and we will do bhakshana of that, and then we will nourish our body through that bhiksha sesha. So, Ityanantanandagiri Kritau Saugitamatam Prakaranam Shadbhyamsham, that ends the 26th Prakarana of this Shankara Vijaya. And in the next Prakarana, the 27th Prakarana, actually the greater part is about the discussion with Jaina Mata, but we will take that part up at a later in the next session. But at the beginning of this Prakarana, another very interesting, humorous part is a story, is a small incident is there. A person called Kshapanaka. See, again, this Kshapanaka is also considered to be the same as Bauddha by later texts. But here, Kshapanaka is clearly shown to be one who considers Kala as the Pradhana Devata. And even in Jyotish Shastra, because Jyotish Shastra is also about Kala, some at the beginning itself in the Vyakhyanas, they will take up the question, because some Dharma Shastras do nindana of such people, and those who are believing in time alone. And then Jyotish Shastra, they have to establish that the nindana of the Dharma Shastra is only applicable to those who think that by their own intellect they will decide everything that is to happen in the future based on time and the movements of planets alone. It is not about those who are following the actual prayojana of Jyotish Shastra. Actual prayojana of Jyotish Shastra is to do nirnaya of the proper time for performing karmanushtanas and the auspicious time for performing shubhakaryas based on the positions of the planets. And through that punya papa karmas, one can, through those satkarmanushtanas and shubhakaryas, one can attain shreyas. That is the actual usage of Jyotisha, and that usage of Jyotisha is in fact prescribed by Shastra. So here it is referring to those who are not giving importance to karmanushtana, who simply say that they will be able to predict whatever can happen by their own samarthya. So he comes and he in his hand, like a globe which shows the position of the land masses on the earth. Those who are following, those who study Jyotisha, definitely they have another celestial globe which shows the positions or the paths of the planets and the other celestial bodies in the sky. In fact, this is prescribed by Jyotisha Acharyas. For example, Bhaskaracharya in his Siddhanta Shiromani Goladhyaya, he clearly says that as far as Jyotish Shastra is concerned, Asmin Ganitas Kanthe Upapattimaneva Agama Pramanam. As far as Jyotisha is concerned, we cannot say that this is said in Arya Bhattiya, this is said by Varamera, this is said by Surya Siddhanta, or by even Bhaskaracharya or anybody else. We cannot simply say that as far as calculations are concerned, we have to provide proof. See, whatever is beyond proof, for example, if Shastra says that Brahma has 4 heads, Shiva has 5 heads, Vishnu has 4 heads, those things we accept because they are not subject to human perception, or they are not limited by our capability to understand. But the positions of the planets, the whole purpose of the calculation is to determine beforehand where the particular planet will be or such celestial bodies will be at a particular time. So the whole purpose of such calculations is something that comes within the domain of perception, pratyaksha pramana. So if there is a doubt, there is an objection saying how can this be? Why you have to do addition here and subtraction there? For example, we know that the sine, cosine function and so on, here the sine values will be positive, there the sine values will be negative, and the cosine for cosine also. So why is here it is positive, there it is negative? Then you have to show upapatti, you have to show proof. So that Gola Yantra, that globe, they use it to show the paths of the celestial bodies, and to show, I see how it is increasing here and decreasing there. Therefore, these are the calculation procedures that we have to follow. So such Gola Yantra and Turi Yantra, it seems to be something that is they are using to rotate this Gola. He has those two yantras in his hands, and he comes to Acharya and he speaks. He says, "Bho Swamin, Madi Kshapanakaha Golayantram Turiyantram cha Karabhyam Dhritva Samagritya Acharya Swamina Vidamabravit Bho Swamine Madiyamatam Ativichitram Shruno Kshapanakaha Purna Samaya Namaham." My name is Purna Samaya. So seems in his family they are so devoted to the Shastra that they have named his this person himself as Purna Samaya. Kala Janakam Suryam Golena Turiyantrena Badhva. So I have the position of the sun in this Golayantra. Samayajnanena, by knowing the proper time. Swarga, Martya, Patala, Sthala, Labhya, Alabhya, Shubha, Ashubham Vachmi. So I am capable, based on this, of saying what is the auspicious and inauspicious thing that can be attained or not attained, whether it is in Swargaloka or Martya Loka, that is Bhuloka or Patala Loka. Everything I will be able to say only on the basis of time. Kincha Khaleva Paramadevata, Pat Paksham Chalayitum, Ishwarabhina Samartha or Pratyaksham Chalayitum, because his Paksha is Pratyaksha. He says Ishwarabhina Samartha, even Ishwara cannot change that. Kala is the Paradevata. Even Jalpantam Acharya Pratyuvacha, Bho Purna Samaya, Samichira Muktam Bhavata. So Acharya says this in an interesting way. Even in earlier Prakarana, Acharya has said the same word rather than immediately discarding the other person's vada as foolish or such. Bhagavatpāda actually says even in earlier Prakaranas, there are aspects of the other person's mata which are acceptable, which are correct, and so those aspects Bhagavatpāda takes as Samichina Muktam, and then he corrects whatever is wrong. Here it is not very clear what Bhagavatpāda means by this. Bhagavatpāda gives a further humorous reply. He says, Tvam Kalavat Kila, Tathaiva Ahamapi, because you know Kala, I also know Kala. Tasman Madashrayana Agacha, you come with me. Yatra Bhavat Parikshochita Kalagamanam, Tadaniam Tvam Prichami. So when the proper appropriate Kala for speaking with you and examining your mata, when it comes, I will tell you, you come with me. Eva Mukta Satu Tathaiva Astvidi, Tam Sarvada Ashritya Siddha Sankalpo Bhavat. So hearing this from Acharya, he accepted that, and he says that, okay, I will gain something here. And he stayed along with Bhagavatpāda. He felt that he will receive whatever he wants to receive. So with this, we stop this, conclude this session, and the remaining text by Bhagavad Kripa, by Guru Kripa, we will examine in the upcoming sessions. Sarvavyapaka Chaitanya Rupena Adhyapi Tishtati Seva Shankaracharyo Gurur Mukti Padassata. Hara Hara Shankara, Jai Jai Shankara.